Hello everybody, my name is Melanie Harwood and I'm back with you here on the virtual awards ceremony where we are honouring the world's very first certified handwriting specialist teachers. And with me I have Tania Taylor, and she's going to be telling me all about herself and why handwriting is important to her. Welcome Tania, give us all the goss.
Okay, so hi everybody, I'm Tania and I'm a clinical hypnotherapist and psychotherapist. It's not all about the funky chicken dances. It is very much about helping people to overcome things like anxiety through relaxation. And when we talk about relaxation, we generally, as therapists, will read from what we call a language pattern or a script. And a lot of therapists will have to go out and buy their own, especially if handwriting isn't something they're very good at. I myself have always had a passion for handwriting. I think right from primary school days when Enid Blyton came into my life and told me how magical the world could be if you only allowed it to be. So I've been writing since I was probably about 4 or 5, writing magical stories. And little did I know at that age that now as a 35-year-old, I would still be writing magical stories. But instead of being just for me or my parents, it instead is to help others overcome anxiety. And I think without that skill of handwriting, it would have never happened, you know. So yeah, I think
That's amazing. Do you think that like, if can you imagine a world of no handwriting? Can you imagine how would we communicate? Because handwriting, being able to write and make your mark, that's, I don't know, that's communication. It's we had a speaker earlier who was talking about color. Our world is full of color, and color is a language, and being able to write by hand is a language. What would the world be like if we didn't have it?
yeah, I agree with the last speaker. I was having a ponder over the questions and thinking about what to say, and I agree with the fact that handwriting is another language. If we don't teach children how to read and how to write handwriting, you're never going to get a font on Microsoft Word that shows joined up writing and teaches how to read that. And it's such a special technique and something that we all use in our everyday lives. Like I was thinking earlier, I was sat down with my fiancé writing our shopping list. It's like, you need to write. Or perhaps when you are at work and a colleague pops a post-it note on your desk to say, oh, can you get this done? And then you pop one back, that handwriting skill, without it, I think it would be a very sad world without handwriting within it. I want
Yeah.
to add as well. So for me personally, when I was growing up, when I was about 15, I went through a really traumatic time and fell into depression. And for me, poetry really helped me to express my feelings when I couldn't really express them in any other way. I didn't really know how I was feeling or why I was feeling that way. And just being able to sit down and scribble away or even write in a diary was really, really helpful for me to manage my own mental health, And I don't think you get the same kind of satisfaction from tapping away on the phone or typing away on a computer as you do from just allowing those words to flow out through your hand.
When you are with your job, when you are with a patient, do you ask them, do you get them to write out you know, if they're going through a particular traumatic time, do you get them to write about their feelings? Is that, or do you just, I mean, this is fascinating. I'm really interested. It's not that, I know that it's not the funky chicken kind of hypnotherapy, but do you get them to are there processes where they must write down feelings or thoughts or processes? What is it?
It's interesting that you should ask that, because I'm a solution focused therapist. So my role is very much about helping people look into the future and the present and consider what has been good and what the future being better will look like. So asking my clients every day, one of their tasks is right before they go to sleep, they have to write down 3 good things from their day. And generally, that can be anything from just having a little walk outside and enjoying the walk, or having a really good dinner that night, you know, or having a nice conversation with somebody. But the benefit of actually writing it down and putting pen to paper
Yeah.
actually engages a part of our brain called our left prefrontal cortex, which is just here, our intellectual self. And when that part of our brain is engaged, we tend to be far more positive people. And
What?
if that, yeah, it's very
It's just a
interesting.
part of my brain.
Yes,
Which
your
side?
left,
Which side is it? Which side?
your,
Left?
your left prefrontal cortex, yes, so
Yeah.
it's on your left side.
Yeah.
And when you start writing down positive things that make you feel good, even if they're memories, when you write those down, it engages that. And if you do it right before you go to sleep, it's really, really beneficial because it helps your sleep quality as well. Yes.
Tania, you do know that these teachers that have done this training, that the object of the exercises, they are the first group of just over 125 teachers in the world. And after this next year, I mean, this is pretty amazing. I work, you know, it just happened by pure chance of the first lockdown in March 2020. And there was an outpouring of like, oh, what are we going to do? And we just said, okay, I'm going to give my handwriting training to every school in the UK. And I never expected schools all over the world to get in touch and say, please, can we access this? We're really concerned. And it was one school in particular in the Middle East, in the UAE, and they said, oh, okay, so we're going to have these deep dives with you. And I'm like, what? And anyway, I don't know how they convinced me my husband said, what are you doing? Why? And I was like, he says, you're so busy. How can you even take on another school? And I said, look, please calm down. He said, you know, he was going like COVID crazy. And the interesting thing was that the literacy lead said, can we do a master's degree in handwriting? And I said, well, I can build it for you. I've got no problem with that. And I said, why would you want to do that? And they said, do you think we could do a PhD? And I said, you could. I said, actually, you can. You're right. That, why should, I thought about it. I thought, God, I'm being so selfish. I'm being like Gollum. It's like, my precious, I'm not going to give my, and I just thought, you know what? I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. I might be gone. I might as well share this knowledge.
Yeah.
So yes. So this first cohort, this first group, over the next year, they're going to be honing their skills and delivering these assessments with all their pupils. And then they are going to be looking at the hard data as a result of what they've been doing with their pupils. And then we're looking at the year. So we're looking at the end of this year, September, that we will launch the master's degree in the history, science, and psychology of handwriting. And what you've just mentioned, I think that is a case study in the science. Am I right?
Yes, absolutely.
You're just, that's it. You're in there. You know that
I love to.
you're in that training, you're in that master's degree. So you're gonna have to provide a case study, and they're going to have to ask you questions and writing about it. So I think that the more we understand from a teaching perspective, when we created the assessment toolkit, I had to make it very clear, this is not a test. This is merely an assessment so that we can have a look, see which children need that intervention. Where are there certain bumps in the road for certain individuals, and how do we negate them? Because writing is a physical motor skill. And everybody gets very angry with me. I said, look, you can teach a dog to write. And they go, no, you can't. No, look, it once, if you have a great method, it's motor skills, motor skills, motor skills. But now that you are telling me that it's this frontal cortex, it gets me to feel good. Now it's starting to, it makes sense. It makes
Yeah.
sense. Makes sense. My daughter is 13, and she loves her, she's got one of these grid journals that a Yop and Tom sent her. It was like a birthday present. She was like, oh, I've got a grid journal. And I was like, I don't know why everybody, she says, look, I can draw little pictures. And I just said, why, what is it? And she said, I get to express myself.
Yeah.
Express myself. When when you were, how did you know when you were going through that emotional upheaval when you were younger? What was that pivot for you when you started writing? When was that realization there that you thought, I'm getting all of this emotional, this stuff out, and I'm feeling better? Was that the beginning of your path to become a hypnotherapist?
It wasn't actually. No, it was another more than a decade later before I actually decided to become a hypnotherapist. But it's 2 decades later. So yeah,
You don't look old enough. You don't look old enough. I wouldn't admit to that. You look very young.
lots of people say that. Yeah, I have a 17-year-old and a 16-year-old. And my daughter is just about to go to university in September, and my son's just about to start college, and they're both very different academically. My daughter is quite academic and finds handwriting is a skill that she actually, when they do revision for her, being able to write down her revision by hand is far more important to her than typing it up. But one of the things she is told to do is to present her revision work on the computer. So she does both. She types it all, she writes it all out, and then she types it up as well, which is a good way for her because she's getting it in twice and in two separate ways. So therefore remembering it far easier. Not necessarily for other students. My son, on the other hand, he has autism and dyslexia, and he struggles with his fine motor skills. So to hold a pen for him is really difficult. He has something, well, we all have it, but it just affects him more, called hypermobility syndrome.
Yes,
So
yes.
it's a bit too flexible when he's trying to hold that pen and control that pen. And his dyslexia on top of that makes him feel like there's no point in doing it. And I wish I could give him the inspiration. He hasn't had any less inspiration and motivation and me talking about passion to him than my daughter has, but because of his struggles and because he never got the right help when he was younger, he's suffering for it now. And for me as a mother, I really, really wish that they had recognized the importance of teaching my son handwriting right the way back when he was 5 years old in reception class. You know, if he could have got that support now, he would be in a very different position.
You are so spot on. When I started on this fascinating journey, I was just a mum, and my daughter had an issue with learning to write her own name, which then became Start B handwriting. And then I realized, okay, we need an assessment toolkit. And it was working with head teachers and teachers as we were trialing this. We assessed at the beginning, I remember we assessed just over 11,000 children in 2 years.
Wow.
And you know what was really interesting was the amount, the percentage of the population of society that have hypermobility. So all of the previous research had said, oh, no, not many people are hypermobile. It's the other way around. And that for me was something that was a light bulb moment, because I thought, how many children are struggling to hold a pencil at the beginning, at that early point, or having pain, and they're getting those those neurotransmitters, those pain transmitters to the brain saying, this is very painful, I don't like this, so therefore they're not going to enjoy handwriting. And that was one eye-opener. And the other thing was, when we started sharing this with other teachers, when I started training other teachers and head teachers, and I had Fiona Cowan said to me, she's a head teacher in Derbyshire, she said, I've been a teacher for 30 years. Why didn't I know this? And I said, well, but I think that if we could have at least a team of certified handwriting specialist teachers in every school, we would negate what your son has been through.
Yeah.
Because these teachers have now been so trained and honed and gone through the processes, they can look at that assessment and go, this is your son's personal handwriting strategy for this year. We know that he's got dyspraxia. We know that he's got dyslexia. Right. Let's start working on how we can negate, mitigate, and adapt. How can we get him through to that next step so that he doesn't feel that it's something that he doesn't enjoy. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry to hear that he's gone through that. It's never too late, Tania. It's
absolutely.
never too late. So if your son ever wants to come onto a Zoom with me, I will gladly do a handwriting match fit assessment, and I will gladly give him some pointers as to, he could just be needing a different kind of a pencil or a pen that will be transformative. Could be as simple as that.
Yeah,
we could have a look. There's always a way, always. There was a lady from NASA, it was in the first lockdown, she said, you've got to help me. She got these 3 girls, and I go, right, okay, you are in California, I am in Hertfordshire. And she said, no, you've got to help me. I said, okay, right, okay, over Zoom. And I'm looking, and I said to her, you know that your one little girl has got dyspraxia, and she's got hypermobility. She's really hypermobile. Why don't you just get this pencil? Here's the link. Let me know, and then we need to devise some exercises. Well, it's been amazing. It's been a fantastic journey. We're going to be doing a lot in the future. I've just been busy with other bits and pieces. So I think we need one-to-one handwriting kits. We need programs for dyslexic learners, specifically for dyslexic learners, because they, the way that they visualize those letter forms and where their entry and exit points are slightly different. We need to be assessing them regularly, and to see how we can build the balance, where they see what part of their brain is, because we're looking at those circles in the assessment, and we talk about noise. The teachers will go, oh, noise, and I've had some teachers say, what is noise? And I say, well, it's when the one part of the brain shouldn't be there, it's coming in. There's so much to this, and it's such a fascinating. So you've got no choice. You've already added a case study. We're going to have you with your son, and we're going to have everything about hypnotherapy and the part of the brain. What would you recommend now with your life experience and with all that you are doing now? What would you recommend to parents? What would be your one takeout point that you would feel parents should know? Maybe they're not parents yet. I don't know. What's that one bit of takeaway advice that you could give them?
I would say, read stories to your children and encourage them to write their own. And if you're not somebody that feels like you can read stories yourself, then go on YouTube. There's loads and loads of stories, or there's audio books. Yeah,
Audible library. Yeah, there's loads of books.
absolutely. But do it together, share that time, and then talk about it as well, and then use that to encourage your child to write their own stories. You know, I think one of the things that really inspired my passion was creating this magical world that was very Enid Blyton-esque, because she is the most magical writer, isn't she? She talks about fairies and pixies and Mr. Moonface and Saucepan Man. You know, there's so many different stories out there that really can open a child's eyes into just how wonderful stories can be. I don't know, feel free to cut this if you don't want it on, but
no, leave it.
I do have a couple of children's hypnotherapy relaxation stories on my YouTube channel.
Why would I even want to cut that? Everybody has to know the links. It's all going to be down below on your page. You just send me the links and I'll add them.
Oh, I will do. And again, I would not have been able to create those stories if it hadn't have been for just being able to handwrite and feeling so passionate about creating magical worlds. And these are magical worlds that help children learn about kind of, the first one I wrote was to help specific clients I was working with at the time. There was nothing out there that fit those clients, so I just wrote my own. And there's a lot of therapists out there that can't do that. If they had been taught about handwriting and how wonderful stories can be, that might not necessarily be the case. And I think if we had a world without handwriting, what about, like, we'd get to this point of not being able to read things from like centuries ago, would we? We would have a whole world of history just completely lost.
Handwriting is everything. One of our other speakers, she at the end of the talk, we were just saying goodbye, and she said, "Do you know what?" She said, "Writing is in science, in maths, in geography, in history, in art." And I said, "Oh, why did you tell me that now? The talk." She said, "Oh, I've just realized it's everything." And I said, "Well, actually, yeah, it is. It's if we couldn't, you and I would not be doing this here now if we couldn't write. I think our life, our outcomes, our personal outcomes, our emotional outcomes, and our academic and our financial outcomes would most certainly have been hampered if we could not write." And I think that we sneer at it at our peril. And one of my greatest fears, I don't know, it's something that really concerned me at one point a few years back, when I said to my husband, I grew up in South Africa, so I grew up with apartheid. And I said to him, I don't want to see apartheid in education. I don't want to see those children who can't write and those who can, and see how there's an imbalance there. So we've got to let every child must have that specialist teacher with the knowledge to be able to, if a child is struggling with writing, or if there is a potential barrier or a roadblock for them, to negate that and to ensure that they leave school able to write. It's powerful. We think we put it down, and I think we forget that. We think, oh, well, you know, there's something I can do. This is like riding a bike. It's a life skill. Once you can do it, you can do it.
I'm just looking around my room.
Yeah.
So what you can't see,
Yes.
is I have post-it notes everywhere. These are whenever I go live. I go live on Facebook a lot, and they're my little pointers. I have things like this, which is all of my content for the next 3 months and what I'm going to talk about. But it's all kind of, even when I type something, I've still got notes at the top as well. Handwriting, it's handwriting is everywhere, isn't it?
Everywhere. It's
Yeah.
everywhere. Oh, Tania, you've made my day. And I'm sure, we are so lucky. We're making history here today because these are the very first certified handwriting specialist teachers in the world. I can't wait. I know that this year, this 2021, I've agreed to only do a cohort of another 200 because I'm busy with other bits. And obviously we're going to be writing a master's degree as well. So we just said another 200 teachers around the world would become certified handwriting specialist teachers. But we're hoping that as we move through this process, eventually there will be thousands of doctors of handwriting and become professors, so that we can share this vast pool of knowledge. The research of what you were telling us, we need to know this. We need to understand how our brains function. What can writing do? We're going to be going through trauma, I think, as a result of COVID, with the lockdowns, the emotional, the disconnectedness. And if we can write and we start having programs where, people are going to be coming to you for help and assistance, they're going to need to be able to write. So it's never, ever going to stop. Never. We just need to know more about it. And I think in different languages, oh, don't get me started. That's one of my things that I can't, I'm don't tell anyone. I shouldn't tell them. My husband's going to go, no. So what we've been working on with one of the schools in United Arab Emirates in Dubai is to convert all of the training into Arabic, Urdu, Hindi, because I think that will then, it can spread. So we can have a look at the psychology and the science of writing in Arabic. That's from right to left. And we can, because those issues are there as well. So what's going to happen, when we have this explosion in all these different languages, and we can start studying the letter formation in Hindi, Urdu, Arabic.
That is amazing. I think as well for children who are Hindi, etc., over here in the UK or in any other country that isn't teaching that in normal everyday schools, to have somebody who can help them write in their native tongue is absolutely amazing.
It's exciting. Anyway, Tania, I better get off here. Oh, we got loads of speakers today. So don't forget, I need those links. I can put them in your page. I need the links to your stories, to your training, to everything. If anybody needs to get hold of Tania, you know where she is. This is going to be on a podcast later as well. This is a momentous day. This is going to be going everywhere. And you're going to be sharing this page all over the place. So you get a badge, you get a certificate because you're one of the first speakers in the world. And it's just been fantastic, fascinating, really lovely. And this will be the first of many talks. So I'd love to speak with you about other things too. Thank you so much for joining me, Tania. And to everybody that's here with us today and that is possibly listening to this afterwards, don't forget to have a look at everything. Look at these pages, look at the podcast, look at everything. Get in touch with Tania if you want any assistance, anything at all. Here we go, folks. See you on the other side. Bye-bye then.